Good afternoon, welcome to our community outreach press updates with our guest speakers, Sergeant Jason Anderson, Judy Bilberry. Sergeant Jason Anderson began his policing career in 1999 with the Peel Regional Police in Mississauga, Ontario. During the time, he worked in uniform patrol, community outreach, and criminal investigation. March of 2006, he returned home to Thunder Bay. Since then, he has been working Uniform Patrol, the Criminal Investigation Branch Court Services, and is currently the staff sergeant of the Community Outreach Office. He's been married for 23 years with 2 children. There we go. Julie Silver has been serving, Sergeant Julie Silver has been serving the community of Thunder Bay as a police officer since 1997. She has, in that time, she has worked at the Uniform Patrol, Community Policing, Criminal Investigation, Media Relations, and Professional Standards. 2010, she was second for a year to manage the Special Olympics Ontario Winter Games by Thunder Bay Police. Currently, she's a third sergeant in the community outreach branch, where she gets to work very closely with community partners, community members, and she looks forward to coming to work every day with the members of the community outreach team to meet the needs of the community. She's a strong believer that everything is possible if there is a mutual respect, open minds, and open hearts. So, welcome to our session this afternoon.
Thank you. So thank you for having us today. Packed room. So it's a little strange talking to an empty room, but we'll do our best. Really appreciate you having us come in here today. We're very excited. We took some time to put together this presentation for you. I would also like to point out that Inspector Derek West is here with us. He's actually in charge of the entire community outreach office and is my supervisor and Julie's. So if there are any questions that he may answer, he's here as a resource as well. So I'd like to begin just by introducing the symbol that we generated as a result of our reconciliation training that we've been putting on. We're going to discuss that in a couple of minutes. Goendam Gakina Awea. This is a symbol that we've adopted in our office now, and we're attaching it to almost everything that we're doing. And we'll get into a little bit more about what that means. I'm sure many of you already do. But we'll move forward, please. Next slide. So we were asked to come and talk to you all about our response to the 7 youth inquest and the recommendations that came out of it. I myself was a part of one of those investigations. I know Derek participated briefly in another one. We don't have information on all of the details of all these investigations. However, as a result of the inquest, Thunder Bay Police received 6 recommendations as a result of the inquest on how we could improve to greater meet the needs of our community that we're policing. The first recommendation that came up is they wanted us to take a look at our missing person and search protocols and look at ways that we could improve that. Now, since my time in Thunder Bay, I've been here since 2006. I can say from my own experience that the missing person and search protocols are something that are constantly evolving. We are always improving on them because we're always finding ways to improve. Specifically when it comes to missing person and search protocols, we've changed a lot in regards to working with our policing partners in the region. Sometimes people go missing from their home communities, but they're in Thunder Bay visiting, or vice versa, or they could be in Toronto or wherever. So between police services, we had to work out how we were going to properly investigate missing persons. What we came to in regards to that decision is that the person is missing from their home. So whatever their home community, that is where they would be reported missing. Now, that just means that that's where the report's being taken. If they came to Thunder Bay, the police are going to be working in conjunction with, say, NAPS or APS or Toronto or any other service in the country, really. And we'll do all the legwork. We'll take all of our resources, we'll put it into that missing person. Okay, so locally, things that we've changed, we have developed something called the search urgency chart. And now a search urgency chart is a document that is used in every missing person investigation that we do. And it scores an individual, and that score dictates what level of search we would be required to do. So it takes some of the decision-making away from us and puts it into a form that says, okay, you shall do this if these measures are met. And a lot of that revolves around the person. Questions such as mental health, addiction, homelessness. What kind of clothing were they wearing? What's the weather like outside? Do they have family and friends in town? Do they have friends whose homes they go to? Do they go to school? Like there's just a myriad of these questions. And all these risk factors are added up. And then at the end, we decide what level of search is going to be done. Okay. Also in Thunder Bay, we have started training our officers, and it's a slow process because the training takes time. It happens once a year, and it's called PLT training, Provincial Liaison Team Training. We utilize our provincial liaison team for several things. If there's an evacuation, if there are forest fires for flooding, if there are protests, those sorts of things. Also, we use the PLT members to liaison with family and searchers when they're in Thunder Bay in the city, working with police to help us with our search, which happens more and more frequently now. We've had that several times this year already, where we've had community members come to Thunder Bay and we've worked with them. We've had our liaison working, coordinating. Have you had some experiences? You nodding your head. Just nodding.
Just to add context to that, the PLT program is a program that was developed out of the Inquest, and it's a model that the OPP has been developed and has rolled out in the province of Ontario. And so we've been able to take that training and take some of those lessons learned and different ways of approaching a situation to better meet the needs of the community.
I'll just add, if you don't mind, on that one, is that for the provincial liaison, it allows that immediate access to information, a good touch point for somebody to help build a relationship as a situation is developing. And it's nice to have that one contact that family members, community members can touch base with. While the investigators are doing their job and handling tips, stuff like that, they can focus on it, whereas the liaison officer is that bridge between the two and sharing that information. That's pretty helpful that way.
And so when missing person reports actually come into the Thunder Bay Police, is a very specific path that those reports take so that nobody's missing any. Whether that report comes in through the front desk or if it's taken by an officer at the scene where a person has gone missing, those reports have to come through the staff sergeant in uniform patrol. Well, first the sergeant and the staff sergeant. That report then gets filtered to CIB, criminal investigation branch, and specifically directly to the missing person officer coordinator who is in charge of all of these searches, or for the most part is in charge of all these searches. And then as that investigation continues, hopefully we find them quickly. If not, we can up our level of concern and then take extra steps and see what more we can do, because there's a lot of work that can be done in missing person reports, and there's a lot of partnerships in the community that we can use to assist us in these, and we're building on those relationships as well. Additionally, technology has changed for us as well. Our searches in Thunder Bay especially, a lot of times we have, say ground zero would be the location of the person went missing, but we have no idea where they might have gone from. It could be anywhere. And waterways in Thunder Bay are a hazardous location, and we're surrounded by water. There's rivers and giant lake everywhere. So what we've done is we've actually upped our game insofar as the technology we use to assist us with our searches. So we have drone operators now. And this has been going on for a number of years, and this program is growing and growing. We're getting more and better drones, and we're increasing the number of operators. These drones have the ability to go where police can't, obviously, and they have the ability to use night vision. So we can search for people in forested areas that we can't actually walk into. We can search river banks. We can fly up and down rivers. We can go, well, anywhere a drone can go, we can go now, which is very helpful in regards to missing person investigations. Okay. Yep, we also have the ability to ping cell phones. That's something we've had for a number of years. A cell phone ping is a GPS location. We're not allowed to just, as police officers, say, hey, I'm looking for this person because I want to arrest them. I want you, the telephone company, to hit a GPS locator so I can find out where they are. It doesn't work that way. We don't have that authority. That's not legal. We can't abuse that. But we can go to our cell phone providers and ask them, this person is missing, or this person has been abducted, or this person is a victim of a violent crime and we're looking for them. They may be hurt. So if we have a real reason, and there's an emergency, the cell phone companies do something called a ping, which is a GPS location for the phone that that person has. Now, as long as that phone is on, we can get a radius of where that person is. Now, sometimes that radius can be 2 meters. Sometimes that radius can be 5 kilometers. It can be very hit and miss sometimes. So it can be very helpful. Other times, not so much, because a 5 kilometer radius in Thunder Bay is, half the city. So,
And I would say one other thing is that there is a lot of video being, recorded by different businesses and organizations, and we usually have a lot of this information coming from Thunder Bay Police, and it's very time consuming to have people sit down and watch 24-hour of one angle, 24 hours of this angle. So it's a lot of resource. We have people working with new technology that they can smush all the video and use facial recognition, which will take this 24 hours and put it into a time frame that's going to be much more timely. So at least we can eliminate where they weren't possibly and focus your attention, or actually have a sighting and be able to follow that path. So instead of having time go by, it's allowing us a quick response to that. So that's fairly new.
in the past, we would have to watch every second of every video that we collected. Now, we can combine, say, a week's worth of video, run it through the software, and it'll play back in 1 hour. But it would take us to, 40 or 50 hours to do. So it's really increased our ability to do that. And in addition, social media. Social media obviously plays a very large role in our society now, and we are having to adapt with that role as well with our missing person. And we work very closely with family and friends of missing persons through our computer crime office and through our social media coordinator that we have at the station to try and dilute that information down to something usable that we can use to find somebody. So unless you two have anything else you'd like to add to the missing persons. Okay. Second one, LCBO and youth access to alcohol. This one is something difficult for the police to really take on their own. This is more of a combined effort. The steps that we can take are obviously we do patrols around the liquor stores and the beer stores. We run projects through our office, specifically the community outreach office, all year long with breaks because of other projects. But we will run projects that target the liquor stores to make sure that people are being safe in those locations, especially when it comes to, say, around inner city area. We have a waterway right there, so we'd like to make frequent visits there just to make sure that everybody's safe. And we're there at least a few times a day, and then on project time, that could be days at a time that we're in those areas looking after this. In addition, we also work with the schools, especially with the kids that are coming from the northern communities. The schools have really upped their game through the recommendations from this inquest as well. They do have sobering sites now, Matawa, DFC. There's several locations these kids can now go be safe when they're in town and get the help they need when they're in that state. And we have worked with the schools in regards to that, but more peripherally, they've spearheaded that.
I'll just add, there's a reality that access to alcohol is very difficult to control. So it's really the programming that the kids get when they come to town. Activities, things to do, and BOAs. So they don't feel socially isolated and that feel the need to go down that road and have to drink alone. Or if they're going to drink at all, the idea is not to have them drink. And so that really comes into what's being provided through those schools, like Jason just expressed, stuff like that. And so we'll do what we can to, try to identify secondhand purchasers and that. But the reality is that kids will get their booze when they want to get it, alcohol when they want to. So it's really taking a focus away from that and keeping their focus on safe activities.
Third recommendation, river safety audits and patrols. This is one we've actually done quite a bit of work on. And this goes back years now. Before the inquest recommendations came out, we had actually already begun doing river patrols with our uniform patrol branch twice a shift. It's twice a shift. We have 2 shifts, day shift and night shift, both run from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 7 a.m., 7 p.m., and then 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So those are 2 12-hour shifts. In those 12-hour shifts, we have 2 directed patrols per 12-hour shift of all the waterways in Thunder Bay. So we have cars actively guys get out of their vehicles and they patrol the waterways on foot, looking for people who are drinking or just hanging out or whatever, again, just to make sure that people are being safe. In our cruisers, we have something called river bags that we have now put together. They include rope, life preservers, a life ring to throw to somebody should they be in the water, blankets, anything like that, just to you know, be able to deal with that river situation. And we carry those year round, even in the wintertime when the ice is frozen and the rivers are frozen, people will still go out into those locations, and it's still very dangerous because you never know when you're going to go through. So we stay equipped to help in those situations whenever we can. Okay, next grade 8 visit program. Actually, I'm going to have Julie talk on that because she
So with COVID, of course, so much of everything shut down for a long period of time, and how do we try to get something together that we can meet the needs of the young people coming to Thunder Bay? So we took on a project which we call the Dear Self Project, and we have been working directly with people with lived experience involved in activities specifically targeted at addictions and human trafficking and gang life and stuff, and put it together in a way that they could speak to young people to just sort of say, you know, you're going to be given a lot of options and opportunities, I guess, and people coming to you, and you have to make good decisions. We want to arm you with the truth, right? So that you can make the best decision possible for yourself. It's been a 3-year project, so we've rolled that out. And the other part of our grade 8, yeah, we have it in here. We'll show you a little bit more of that after. And also too, with our grade 8 visit, we had to change things a little bit, not being able to go up north, is that we are continuing to work with the Canadian Rangers with Camp Loon. So I'll pass that to you.
well, that's actually part of the presentation for me, but we'll get to Camp Loon. Camp Loon's awesome. Yeah, looking forward to talking about that.
Well, you're speaking more on grade 8 visit.
No, I will go ahead.
Okay, so what I've created visit, so the traditional idea of the grade 8 visit was we had our officers rent trucks, do the ice roads, and they visit a number of communities. Of course, we brought gifts, and we had made arrangements to visit communities, and the idea was to meet the kids where they live, to get a better understanding, build a relationship before they come to Thunder Bay. We give a bit of a safety talk and a presentation. And while that's still okay, it's still part of the mandate. We found that the engagement wasn't there the way we like it. But in one way, it was good. It didn't work out with the students all the time, but it did work out with the communities, because as soon as they heard something was going on in the community center or the school or something like that, it seemed like everybody would come down and want to be curious to see what's going on. So that was nice. But we looked at it being an effective way to really engage the kids. It's not being the best thing. So it doesn't mean that we won't do it, because I think the reality is they are looking for the police, understand where they've come from, and that's why they actually want us to go there. So we'll be working with NAPS in the future, and looking at flying in with them to come and do some of those visits again in that traditional manner. Maybe not the long ice road truck idea, but we'll see. I'll never cut it out, but
That's the one who does trips.
we'll see. But we see, then he'll talk about a little bit what I call it. For me, it's a really good engagement opportunity, and I call it bang for buck. And you tell them what to do.
Yeah, well, that's part of the mix.
Is it okay?
It's a long-term fun. Try to cook halls, get some good goodies, like maybe fresh fruits or
Yeah.
something that will keep that.
Well, I mean, and not just, I call it stereotype, but Kentucky Fried Chicken worked really well. Some Big Macs and hockey equipment.
Lots of
We did put a couple of requests, or fill a couple of requests.
The next item on our recommendation was student lists. There is a bit of a history behind the student lists in Thunder Bay Police. We used to get them as a matter of course, and the list would come and they would tell us the name of the student, where they're staying, like if they're staying with a sponsor, contact information for that person, phone number, address, that sort of thing. And we had those lists in the event that someone came into custody, or we were looking for somebody, and we needed to get a hold of someone who could be responsible for them or provide them the assistance that they needed at that time. There was a little bit of pushback on that. because people felt that it was an invasion of privacy for these students, and the decision was made, not by the police, but a decision was made that that should be a voluntary list. And so what happens now is in summertime, for the students that are coming to Thunder Bay, their parents will be getting a package from the schools. In that package is going to be an authorization to provide us with that information. And if you fill that out, we will then get your child's name, you'll have their information on file with us for this school year. And if we should need it, we have it, which is, it's very valid. We do have ways of getting that information. There's protocols in place because we don't really have any of those. No one's filling out those. So we're not getting that information from the schools now. But that said, we do have access to that information. It's just a phone tree, basically. We have to make a couple of phone calls, reach out to our partners in the schools who have that access to information. If they deem it appropriate, of course, they will provide it to us, and then we can move forward with whatever investigation we're doing. It takes a few extra minutes, a few extra steps, but we're still getting to the same location. But honestly, those lists would help us a great deal. And you know, there are times when time is of the essence, and we do need to make decisions quickly and have that information quickly. So I would encourage parents in the communities to send that information. You can rest assured that it's only being used for what in very specific circumstances. It's kept in a single location, and the information is destroyed at the end of the year.
It's all there. I would give human rights, privacy act, you would not. And when we have a relationship where something should happen on the spur, we ought to be able to talk to you right away because of the emergency.
Right.
So having that relationship and say, go to the person, go to office, because people tend to not be in that office or long.
Yeah.
But that office is gonna be there all the time.
Yeah.
So you have that relationship.
You know, there's other options that can be explored. I mean, personally, I think if you want to make this very simple, you could provide the police with a list of all the student names and their parents in their home community and a contact number for their parents in their home community. That way, anytime we're going to have any contact with your child, we're going to be talking to you first, right?
What's our point being on the relationship builds, and then we know who to phone in what area of the service to phone, and that's important for sure.
Because there's a lot of our young people that have no involvement with the law whatsoever.
Yeah, that's right.
I know you're from so and so, and you're like, oh,
No.
you know, like.
Well, we wouldn't do that.
That's not the information we're getting access to. But I understand your point. But that's where we are with student lists. So we would encourage the parents because it is very helpful. But again, as I said, we have other avenues to get to that end result. It just takes a few more steps to get more time. Now, the last recommendation is reporting on progress. All the inquests that we have, that is a recommendation that everybody has that receives recommendations, because we all have to talk about what we, take action on the recommendations and then bring that to an annual meeting to report on that together. And that gets done yearly. So that's always how that's been happening. So there's no real changes there. And that is those are our 6 recommendations. Those are our 6 recommendations that we received, and we, as you can see, we've taken a great number of steps in order to actualize those. Julie, you're up.
Okay. Previous chief started on a change project to try to re-envision our liaison work that we do with the community. And as a result of that, a number of community partners were brought together. There was a great deal of input from some elders and people in the Indigenous community. There's a lot of cultural events. There was sweat lodge. There was a great number of events that came to be. And basically during that ceremony, we were gifted with the Wyndham Gakanawea message, which basically means to protect everyone and everything. So that is sort of the direction that our service is going in. And so we changed from the Aboriginal liaison unit to the community inclusion team. Because with our community, we have a lot of other people that we want to include into the liaison type work that we do within our office. Because our office does have the time to meet the needs of individuals. And did you want to talk more about you were actually there, the organizational change? I think that this is more appropriate for you to give.
Yeah, no, but by all means, so I was part of the chief organizational change project, which is called breaking barriers. So I was chief auth that started it, and started with to envision a number of things. The first was to revamp our Aboriginal liaison unit and re-envision what it would look like. Communication both internally and externally to the communities, and recruitment and diversity training. And so for the first part of the organizational change project, we had two ladies from the Indigenous community in Thunder Bay, a member from the Multicultural Association, and then some police officers internal, all volunteered to be part of that project. Out of that came, and they envisioned the way we would go forward for the community services at the time, community outreach, change the ALU to the community inclusion team. And part of that was to also bring a civilian member of and add that person to the team. And that became the community inclusion team coordinator. And that's Jan Ritchie. So Jan Ritchie is the person who's taken on that role and really brought a lot of experience and wealth. And he's very culturally sound, having his own journey being from, I believe, Saugeen area. And has practiced culture his whole life. So we went from Aboriginal liaison officers to Indigenous liaison officers, and we included the diversity portfolio. And diversity can be everywhere from the LGBTQ to S+ communities to our new Canadians coming from different countries and stuff like that. Wanted to have an ability to outreach and make sure that people in Thunder Bay in our area, our region, would feel included within the community and have an ability to build relationships between the community and the police, and the police and the community. As part of that, we did go in a ceremony. We did conduct a sweat lodge. We gathered around Father Rocks, built a fire. We shared stories. We had a smudging ceremony. Elder Jerry Baxter was our elder who helped us through that, and did some culturally significant things that we noted through that ceremony. One was that as we were about to go into the sweat lodge, an eagle flew over a screen, and that informed one of the ladies that was really had practiced culture, and that was explained the story to us of why that was significant. But we went into the sweat lodge and we had a lot of sharing and speaking about different things, and that helped inform the idea of where we were heading. And so that came through vision, tour, and a dream that we would do Gwendam Kakina Alea, which is to, we said, to protect and keep everything. It helped put us in a path that outwardly the community can know that we are here for them. We look at it in a way, we've been saying it lately, that we don't believe it or not, we think of police as law enforcement, arrest and all that allowance and that stuff. It's not that. It's really what we are. We actually are the bottom of the social safety net, and we can't break. And we're the ones that have to be there to make sure that people can be lifted up and brought to and protected. And then of course we have to do that with our partners and partnerships and stuff like that. So that was kind of the vision where we went on to do it. And that would be those two parts of this organization change project. And of course, they'll probably speak to the diversity side of that and the training that we developed.
So during COVID, we knew that we had to sit down with our new team. So it's Constable Bob Simon, Jan Ritchie, Constable Naomi Fillier, myself, and we started just trying to figure out what do we think we as a unit need to do, what is our vision, what are our mission and our principles. So up here, our vision was to be a trusted and transparent Thunder Bay Police Service, which fosters positive relationships between police, Indigenous people, and other racialized and underrepresented groups that they serve. So we wanted to make sure that we had that ability to set ourselves aside and just make sure that people could come and be and feel that they were going to get the supports they need for wherever they're coming from. And our mission was to enhance relationships by positive interactions, empowering individuals, investing in partnerships, constant communication and education to increase understanding and acceptance to make Thunder Bay Police Service a more welcoming and accessible to all. So we're just really trying to break down any barriers that may be in place. Listen is probably the biggest thing. We're policing, we tell people what to do all the time. We try to flip that on its head and say, let's listen to what people need from us and how can we meet them. So that's sort of one of the biggest changes within our office that and within our unit that we tried to do. And again, we took a look at the 7 grandfather teachings and we really tried to take them to heart, as that's what's going to be guiding us on our journey. During that process, we came up with a strategic plan. The piece that we totally acknowledged was missing was input from the community, because everybody was shut down and at home and not even working, right? So it was really hard to get input. We reached out to as many people as we could, but we know it wasn't as robust as it needed to be. So that is sort of the place that we are at right now, and our next steps for us is to do that community consultation as to what we've done, what's worked, what hasn't, what does the community need from us. So be ready for those emails and meetings to come. And we welcome everyone's input, because that's the only way we can do this together.
We did have elders advisory group.
Yeah. So we had 4 pillars. One was to engage, one was to support, recruit, and communicate. And so under each of those pillars, we set out a bunch of goals and objectives. Some have been absolutely fantastic, and it would take us another 2 days to go through everything. But we're just going to give you highlights of different things that we've accomplished over the last couple of years that is sort of guiding where we're going. Who we are as a community inclusion team. On the far side, Jan Ritchie is our community inclusion team coordinator. He is guiding us on a cultural journey. He has brought a lot of peace into our office. He is doing teaching on an ongoing basis. It will speak a little bit more, but he has been sort of the backbone of our reconciliation training, which all the members of the Thunder Bay Police Service are required to go through. I think we've got 90% of our members have gone through it over the last year and a half. On the bottom there, you see Constable Tonka Awasika with the archery. He is one of our school resource officers. He brings a lot of diversity to our unit and a lot of great insights as a person of color coming from another country to our service. So we have really robust conversations and challenging each other on a daily basis, which is awesome. The next one, the 2 guys in pink are the other officer there is with him is Pat Shopoff, who is our other school resource officer. The gentleman in orange is our ever smiling constable, Bob Simon, who has been a constant with Thunder Bay Police Service in the liaison role. He's very connected with a lot of people within the community and helps to open that door for information flow, which is essential. And in the middle, we have Constable Naomi Fillier and Constable Charlene Bordeaux. Naomi was our diversity officer. She is now transferred to Niagara Regional. She has gone on an extremely awesome journey with her cultural awakening, for lack of a better word, in the work that she had to do, and has forever changed her. So I think for her, it's made her for Niagara Regional Police an asset that they don't quite realize that they have right now. And Charlene has always and will continue to do community outreach within the Northwest area.
Actually, I'd like to point that Naomi is very close, a very important part of our office. She did a lot of really great outreach work, specifically with the Indigenous community and for our reconciliation training. Through that process, she was actually gifted the water saw. And when she graduated, or not graduated, sort of, when she was sworn in as a police officer in Niagara, she drummed that saw for her graduation class, her graduating class. So that's been brought. Thunder Bay all the way down to Southern Ontario.
So, when we first, Jan had this vision and this desire to have an Eagle staff made for the Thunder Bay Police Service. And this started back in 2020. And it's still not complete because it is a journey, and we are allowing him to take us on a proper journey. We are not rushing anything. So a really interesting Jan, you guys all know Jan. You know Jan? I'll tell you a little bit about Jan. Yeah, he is a massive long distance runner. Like, I'm not talking with, he goes on like
100 kilometers.
200-kilometer runs. He runs all the time. So when he was running, he found a limb of a tree that had fallen as a result of a storm that he felt was the appropriate one for us to go harvest. It was out on the Sleeping Giant. And so the team went out there in the heart of COVID outside. But he never told everybody it was a 10-kilometer hike in. He had a 10-kilometer hike out anyways. But so we have that. We've had partners in town here which worked with shaping and cutting the staff. Because there was enough wood there for two. One was gifted to Matawa because they were also looking to do their own. So they are not sure what their status is, but everything is done in, as you can see over here. Jan did ceremony when we harvested the Eagle staff branch. For all the officers that were there, this was their first time really being involved with this, did not know what to expect. And when they all came back, they just basically said that this is the way we need to learn out on the land and doing it, not just sitting in the classroom and talking. So it was very impactful on the team. And we continue to offer those opportunities within our service as best we can, with as busy as we are. Another one here is a Cedar. Right? Oh, and last, what about October? September, October, Constable Simon and Jan took the Eagle staff, as far as it was completed, to a Eagle staff ceremony in on Manitoulin Island, where there's a gathering of all the Eagle staffs, and had it birth, I believe, but to the point that it was at, and he's going to continue to go down this journey and have it dressed appropriately until it is ready for whatever the end journey is going to be. So again, we're letting Jan take us on that journey, and he's doing a phenomenal job. Cedar ceremony was something that Jan really felt was necessary. Again, we invited members of the community to come in to join us to do it in proper, in a good way. And at the end of it, Cedar was hung at all the doors of Thunder Bay Police Service, trying to give the covering and for officers that they go and come from work to make sure they're safe, and anyone that comes in and out of our building. So those are two events that we've done, and we continue to do it on a yearly basis. Missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Constable Charlene Bordeaux has been instrumental in moving that, especially with the Tree of Hope project here in Thunder Bay. And we as a community inclusion team support her in the work that she does on a yearly basis, as well as we try to set up different displays within our service to bring information to educate on an ongoing basis. It's important because you can sit in a classroom, you can send out an email, but sometimes people are just walking by in their own quietness. There's something there for them to read. It will have a different impact. So we continue to do that with different things within our service. It's been quite successful. So that is work that we will continue to do. And also, you know, Sharon Johnson, again, in Thunder Bay here, has been instrumental in really trying to get the information out, not let it be put on a bookshelf, for lack of a better word. And so we do support the walks and everything else.
I have one thing about culture. So we're not doing this, and we're not just saying, well, we know what culture is and doing it. So we do John, one is very cultural and is on his lifelong cultural journey. But he has an Elders Advisory Council to assist us with that. And we are fully aware that not everybody practices culture. We know that Christianity is very strong in a lot of communities, and so in recognition of that, we do know and understand that it can be a mix of it as well. And of course, we know with the recent ruling and funding that's coming through that there is that time now and opportunity to reclaim culture and language. And so us being, I call it, in tune with those two things, we want to know that we don't take this for granted, and that we do recognize and respect that not everybody sees that culture the same way. But we want to know that it's to be inclusive, that we make sure that everyone knows that.
And a couple of other initiatives that we have done is we've had different elders come in and we call it sit down with us, our community inclusion team down with us. It's hashtag, we thought it was cute. Anyways, but we try to bring people in for a really casual coffee break to do small teachings. We started doing that. We sort of walked away from it a little bit because we didn't have the foundation built. So we're always reevaluating because we hadn't gone through our reconciliation training. So a lot of our people, officers and still members were coming in and not really understanding why we're doing it. So we have now, again, we'll get into the training. We've laid a foundation, and this is something that we're going to do because we listened to our members and they appreciated the training. They changed with the training and they're asking for more because they can't believe that they did not know a lot of things that they thought they knew, right? So it's been great. We've been doing different flag raisings. I won't go into all of these things, but we are, as you can see, trying to recognize where we are. And I know a lot of people think it's just checkbox marking things off. During COVID, there was not a lot we could do with a lot of things, and we're really starting to work heavily with our partners because it's not that anymore, right? We have to engage, we have to make relationships, we have to come to a place where we listen and talk to each other. There's certain ceremonies throughout the year that we can be involved with. And it's not for us to do it, it's us to do with our partners and to support how we can. So we are really, like I said, listening is probably the best word I can put out there to you. I will let you speak about. Really interesting thing, as you all know, we do end up with a lot of people coming down here for evacuation. And at that point in time, we've got a lot of people who are displaced that are going through a traumatic situation. They, kids are not feeling comfortable. Like it must be really, really tough. So we do what we can. Jan was great at bringing in a bunch of some elders, some drummers, some dancers, and putting on a cultural event for people. And it was very well received. So, and that stuff, and the interesting thing for me, because I was at that event, is the first time it's been at something like that. And I had a couple of people came and they spoke and told their stories. Those individuals impacted me so much that when we were putting our reconciliation training, I sort of said, they have to come and talk to our members because we need to hear their story. And they have been with us through our journey, and it has been the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae, because that is what has brought awakenings and people changing their point of view. It's been absolutely fantastic. So very proud of that, but it's sort of everything is evolving and coming together, which is great.
Training. So this is probably one of the biggest things that our office, community outreach, has put together in quite some time. And I wish I could say I was there from the beginning developing this, but I was not. I came in at the end and took all the credit. So this is actually done. A great deal of the work was done by Derek, by Julie, by Jan Ritchie, of course, who coordinated just a huge amount of information. And they worked with our community partners. We didn't just develop this information ourselves. We don't have. We reached outside of our community and we engaged with members of the Indigenous community, with elders, and we brought together educators, and we formulated this training, which is 40 hours, 4-day training session. It covers, well, I guess I can go through the list here. So we have 289 members that have completed the training. And how many sessions have we been?
16 sessions.
16 sessions we've run so far. We have up to 26, 27 max per session. It's all held at the Victoria Inn. Like you can see here, we've gotten through 90% of our staff. We have another a session scheduled for the fall this year, which will get us almost there, but we keep hiring people, so we're gonna continue to run this training. It's gonna be an ongoing thing, where we're gonna have sessions run every year for new staff, and then we're always developing refresher training with our annual training that we do every year. We have days of academic training that we also include this type of information as well. As a part of this, we actually received a bundle as well, and I'd like to point out, Derek had said that we are trying to be inclusive to everybody, and the bundle is part of it reflected on Christianity being very strong in many northern communities, while part of our bundle is a Bible. So it's there to represent everybody. It's ours, and it's getting a lot of use. You can see in this photograph here, you've got Derek with his nice fancy shirt that he got. Yeah, his ribbon shirt, and we have these two ladies are dancers that come on our last day. We have a powwow on the last day. It's just a mini powwow, but they come in, they talk about their dresses, the styles of dancing, and it's kind of a cultural event they're used to wrap up the training. And it's everyone really gets a lot of good drumming songs. There's a list here of our teachings. Now, I would like to point out we have an elder that works with us, Aaron Terrio. I don't know if anybody knows Aaron, but he is an absolutely amazing man and just has a gift of delivery that just brings everybody in. And he's been so valuable to us. He's so knowledgeable, culturally speaking, and he is a wonderful singer and drummer. We do 2 circles a day. We begin each day with a grandfather teaching. We sit in a circle, and you can imagine 25 to 27 people in these circles. That takes a long time to get around. We learn a lesson, one group will get some homework. They will teach on the grandfather teaching. Aaron will tell a story about it from the Indigenous perspective. And then everybody in the circle will comment what they think about that teaching, how it reflects in their life, and how they think they can use that teaching moving forward. So you can imagine police officers tend to be pretty hard individuals, maybe not the easiest nuts to crack, but at the end of this training, the sharing that is happening is more than just a little surprising. It's opening up a lot of hearts and minds. And as you can see, these are some of the topics that were covered. So we've got our 7 grandfather teachings, medicine wheel teachings, and we do that through the week. How Indigenous, non-Indigenous people think. We actually have a university professor come in and he talks about language studies and the different ways people learn and think within the Indigenous culture. Reconciliation, of course, that's always a big part of it. We go into pre-contact history, an amazing presentation. We have all kinds of artifacts that come in. It focuses on a lot of the information focuses on local history around local First Nations and Robinson Superior, but it extends way past that, right across Canada and the United States. Treaties, of course, we learned that we have quite a lengthy presentation on treaties, specifically with local First Nations, and sitting through this training because I'm a supervisor. I sit through these training sessions, as does Derek, and I've sat through I think 6 or 7 of them now myself since I've come to the office, and that treaties presentation I think is probably one of the most impactful on our members. Nobody knows this information. And to live in Thunder Bay all your life and not have this knowledge and understand what our friends in our community have gone through and where they came from and how that's progressed for them, it's a really eye-opening presentation. And the next day people come into the circle and they're like, I went home and I talked with my family around the table. My wife couldn't believe this. The kids, they don't even know this stuff yet in school. So they're bringing it to their families and friends and they're talking about it. It's there's been more than a few tears shed in those circles about these things. Another very impactful presentation is the Kairos blanket exercise. I'm not sure how many people have gone through that, but it's a symbolic exercise where blankets are laid down on the ground. Everybody in the group is assigned a specific personality, we'll say, and those can go from a residential school survivor to Inuit person. It runs the gamut, and the blankets are slowly taken away. And it's very symbolic, but it teaches about how the lands and the treaties were used and how that has been taken away. It talks about obviously the 60 scoop, the schools, and the effects that it has had on the Indigenous population since colonization began. So again, a very impactful presentation that generates a lot of conversation.
And that's facilitated by Jerry Lynn Orr and Anna Chief from Lakehead University. And they do a phenomenal job.
It's been very valuable. And then in the residential schools, of course, we have several elders that will come in. They volunteer to come and tell their story. Bob Baxter has been, I guess, the main elder that comes in and speaks on his story. I personally, I've heard him tell his story now probably 10 times. I'm sure it never gets easier to tell. It certainly doesn't get easier to hear. Again, a very sobering day. It's interesting the way the training is set up. We have one real heavy day, you know, where we basically lay it all down on people, and that's a really difficult day. A lot of these ones that I'm talking about now are happening at the same time. So it's very impactful, the training in that regard. And again, I can't say it enough. It's changing hearts and minds.
We try to do it in create a culturally, mentally safe place. So that to go through this is going to have impact on those presenting and those that us receiving the training. And so we make sure that we take care of that. And through that process includes self-reflection. There's self-reflection exercises and then sharing of those stories later in our sharing circles. So at the end, when we're done the training, we have a good opportunity to kind of be fulsome in that journey so that they can leave some good thoughts.
And of course, the topics of the day certainly are being discussed. Missing and murdered, I don't know more, Orange Shirt Day, National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. We have presentations on all these things, not just what they are, but why they are, and why they're culturally significant, why we need to promote those messages through not just our office, but through the service moving forward. And you can see a lot of that just like the smaller things, flag raisings, because we'll do flag raising, Orange Shirt Day, reconciliation day. We do these things. If you drive by the station, you see them up periodically. And then, of course, we do the present day perceptions, people with lived experiences and culture for healing. And a lot of that has come from literally, these are people on the street that have pulled themselves up and they have these lived experiences and they can talk about where they came from, why they ended up where they were and how they came out of it. And the message that we've been receiving from all of these people is culture that is saving. Their culture has pulled them from despair, brought them to a place where they feel a lot better about themselves and their lives, and they're moving forward in a very good way. So again, very impactful. And these are not short discussions that we're having. These are hours of discussions that we're having. Very emotional discussions.
Okay, so my last comment I'll make, and Jay might go thunder, but I've been a 30-year veteran of the Thunder Bay Police Service, hiring kids, I call them now today. They're all in their 20s. I'm thinking that our education systems have taught them stuff. I'm fully expecting that has occurred. And then when we take this training and at the end they're saying, I didn't know that. I wish I would have known this 6 months, 7 years ago. But going forward, I know this will really improve how I can make a better relationship with people that we go to support the community or respond to. And I know I will do something different. And I don't feel we can give an example of what one of those things would look like.
Well, go ahead. I'll add some also.
So the best example I can give you is leaving the training through it is I said in the passing of a mother's son, we still had to come to our police processes at their house. And through the process, they supported this lady and asked her if she practiced culture, which she said she did. And they offered and asked her if she wished to smudge body before they took him away. And they asked if they could smudge the area. And she wanted to do that. So that happened. That was a positive experience for her because normally she might not have been able to do that. It helped to lift obviously the negativity of what happened. His spirit was lifted up. You understand about the smudging that. And it was a good interaction with us and her. And more now our officers are getting in tune with culture and the offer of creating cultural safe. We call trauma informed now. We're giving people an opportunity to practice those things.
I can say before the reconciliation training began, I had actually had a situation exactly like that, where I was investigating homicide and family wanted to smudge the area before we released the scene, so we provided that environment. So 40, 50 family members.
6, I don't know why we thought that. 6.
These are just some quotes from our partners, just to kind of give you an idea. I'm not going to read those off, our members, I'm not going to read those off to you, but the message is very simple. It's that the training has been invaluable to our people. Please, next slide. Close. Okay.
So basically we know engaging with youth is very, very important. And so we are doing a lot of different activities. We are evolving every day, working with a lot of students at the schools in ways that they will engage. We engage with archery with young people out there. We have a boxing program. We do a fitness program. We just finished over at Matawa with some of their students. Our Dear Self project, we brought in Wally Shaw as part of it and did writing workshops at DFC, as well as when we did our final Dear Self presentation, we were able to go to school again. So we are continuing trying to find ways to engage with youth that are not traditional things that the police would do, because we are just talking heads otherwise. Being part of Wake the Giant is one of the really great things that we get to do. We make sure we go and help out with that during the daytime hours, engage with people, and just try to support however we can. So we will continue to do that, because we know investing in our youth is a secret to a healthier community down the road, right?
And one of the best, well, I think it's one of the greatest things that we do in our office right now, this is in the community outreach office, is we have a project that we work with the Canadian Rangers, the Army Rangers. That's called Camp Loon. Now this had been going on for a couple of years, but stopped over COVID. So last year was the first year it came back to play. Now Camp Loon is a camp, like I said, run by the Canadian Rangers. It was in at a Crown campground just north of Geraldton, about 45 minutes north of Geraldton last summer. It's a week-long camp, and they fly in Indigenous children from the northern communities, and they plan a week of activities. The Army built an entire base. It's amazing what they put up. They have barracks, they have a canteen, they have bathrooms everywhere, and they run programs. They have quadding, navigation, they do target shooting. We have archery, they do canoeing, swimming, kayaking, all kinds of things. But the Thunder Bay Police, we have our archery program called On Point. And we go out, and for Camp Loon, we would take 2 groups of kids, one in the morning, be 8 kids each group, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And we would run them through our archery program. I have to tell you that this, I'm not sure who got more of this, we scored this over the kids. It was so much fun. And what I saw is we would get a group of kids who were very closed off. They would come, hair over their face, hoodies up. It's 35 degrees outside. Wearing hoodies with the hoods down. We would break the ice with them, usually just by making fun of each other, because self-deprecating humor seems to go a long way. But slowly the kids would come out of their shell, and by the end of it, by the end of that week, we had kids coming up to us all day long and asking if we would set up extra shooting time for them after hours in the evenings. And I could not say no. So when I was bringing over a group of kids, whoever wanted to, it was funny enough, it was always the females. It was always girls that wanted to come and shoot. They end up, the one girl ended up winning the competition for the entire week, which was great. She put in the work. We started something about day 2 or 3 into this. Jan Ritchie, our cultural coordinator, started asking the kids about what kind of experience they had with their culture. And some of them did, but many of them didn't. So we started just slowly introducing small things. We would, at the beginning of each session to break the ice with the kids, we started having a small circle where we talk about ourselves, let them open up a little bit if they wanted to. And then Jan would do a quick smudge, and then we would go about our day. We did that for a whole week. It was just just incredibly rewarding. In the evenings, if you want to go to the next slide, in the evenings, we don't have a picture of that, but anyways, in the evenings, we would do paintball with the kids. The Army guys had a shipping container full of paintball guns and gear, so every night we would set up and they had a forest area and they would just shoot each other up for a couple hours and they just had a blast. We would usually get about 40 kids out each night, so that was a ton of fun and just incredibly rewarding. We do this because these are the kids that are coming to our communities. This is part of, you can combine this with our grade 8 kind of stuff, right? Yeah, because these kids are coming to our communities now. So this is a way for them to get to know the police a little bit in a different light. And hopefully we would see some benefit from them. And we have. We've had kids that were at last year's camp. We joined our youth corps with the police, which is an organization. They come every week to the police station. They learn different things about policing. They do volunteer work on the weekends. So we had two sisters came from that. Going to DFC, you'd have students coming up to us that were there, engaging with us, coming up and talking with us. Hey, you know, that kind of thing. It's just that light interaction that really goes a long way to breaking down those barriers with the kids. Hopefully, building some trust, and you know, one person at a time. Julia talked earlier. I know we're probably going to see people look at their watch. So I think it's very close. So
3 minutes.
okay, 3 minutes. All right, well, I think we've got about 3 minutes left, so the time is good. We're going to play this video for you. This is our outreach we did with Wally Shaw from Southern Ontario. This is the writing program, and well, I'll just let him speak for himself. Yeah.
Then engage with kids about a message.
For you and I. A lot. Only
Fiction in your presentation.
Yeah.
only the gang can get you up. When you're feeling lost, never stay. Odd jobs are being. This is the way money is made. Really believe there is meaning of life in getting paid. Remember, see the gang is family, not an obstacle. Your fake friends tell you to get out as soon as possible. With all that you've seen, only drugs would make it. Stop. You drugs. With all this, as soon as possible. Your fake friends tell you that the gang is family and not an obstacle. Remember, there is more to life than getting paid. Do you really believe this is the way money is made? Working odd jobs or being broke is still better than selling your body or selling hope. The truth is, you're better than where you are today. Don't ever say drinking can take the pain away. When you're feeling lost, only the gang can get you by. You know that statement is nothing but a lie. There's a better life that's waiting.
With this project, basically, we tried to listen to people's lived experience, their story. As a result of their stories, we created 2 videos that are on our website. their real life stories, and we show those to kids, and we just did a high school tour here, and it really opened up kids to seeing the reality of making bad decisions. If you see with this poem, the front part of it's very negative and everybody's blood. And the end of it is flips to positive with the exact same words. So the reality is everything is perspective, and you have to make choices one way or the other. And so this is the way that we're trying to resonate with young people. So we've got the information, we've put it out. We've just finished doing an art project where kids could put in some submissions, and we're going to have a judge, and we're going to do it at the art gallery so their family and friends can come and see the work they're doing. So we're just really trying to find different ways to resonate with young people. We're hoping to continue with this, you know, into the region. We're just trying to figure out what those next steps are, because we now have the information, and we've had the experience, and now we know the message that's resonating. So that's sort of what we're looking to do.
You might notice some of those kids in the video out here from DFC.
They worked with us. We did a writing workshop with them, and then a couple of the kids after the writing workshop, around the time we were doing that, they wrote that day and finished their story at night and got on stage at Wake the Giant and shared very hard stories of their life that were so well done and impactful. It was like there's so many amazing outcomes from this project, right? And again, it's been a 3-year journey, but everything we do just got better and better, and now we know what we need to do because it's working. So that's our where we're going. And again, for our community outreach branch, we can listen, we can engage and support, we can bring cultural teachings within our service because of the foundation has been laid, and people are now asking for it within our service, which is quite interesting. Actually, yesterday, one of the girls just put some tobacco, actually ties in our interview room with all 4 medicines in case anyone coming in to be interviewed or whatever wants them. They are there for people to take. So, and someone just did that on their own, which was absolutely fantastic. We continue to offer engagement activities with students. We know it's key. We're a partner, and we are a partner and a voice to support the educators for student safety and success. And that's what we want to do. We want to continue to do those things. Yeah, we are, and again, as I said before, community consultation is our next step to find out where we go from here.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's us.
Thank you. Next steps, I'll take a step to the front. Just want to thank you for the presentation, and we do have a gift, so you guys have to arm wrestle for it. But I just want to because the comment that you made there was we are the bottom of the safety net. Man, what a powerful message if we were to go, like if we were to try to restore a strange relationship with Indigenous people. If I heard that, man, it would go a long ways for me, considering what the experience that I have been in various communities, towns and cities, and also just our family, friends, and you know, and we have come a long way in regards to this presentation. We would never have heard it like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and it goes a long way, and it's having it on the World Wide Web also it will go a long way. Don't feel sad that you just have we have friends, right? So word of mouth still is very important, not just to get things out there, especially with Indigenous people, you know, in the state. And you're gonna hear this in British Columbia and East End before you even have it on your counter. So I want to thank you for this presentation, and it just adds to the presentation that we had yesterday, and it's just like filling in the gaps. Yes, we do have a lot of work to go, but we made strides and bounds and just in the small time frame, and I just want to thank you.
Thank you.